I just. All right, we're live. Hello and welcome to another session of Level Up. Today we are here with Alex Konstad. Hello, man.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Just living life.
Awesome. So we are here with Alex, who is a concept artist and illustrator. Now mostly working at Games Workshop and doing some VFX stuff for the companies from California. He's living in California right now. And today we are going to do a little bit of demo stuff and maybe critic stuff for Level Up people. And now we can see Alex's beautiful face smiling to all of you. So say hello to Alex, and I will just pass the voice to you so you can introduce you in a very accurate way, much more than me. So once again, hello, man, and nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, man. Thanks for having me. Here I am, Alex Konstad. I live in Los Angeles, California. Concept artist and illustrator. Currently working with Dan Levisi over the Section 9 in Santa Monica, California. If you guys aren't familiar with my work, I can do a little screen share of my website.
Yes, basically I will just keep linking the people to all of the stuff that we post on the Level Up event page. So if you are on Facebook, just go there and we will post all of the stuff from Alex. And now you can see his beautiful website with his concepts. So we will scroll it pretty fast, and then we can maybe move on to your journey and then go back to the current stuff once again to go through it more accurately, right?
Sure, yep.
Okay. So if you want to follow Alex, and you have to do it, go to alexkonstad.tumblr.com, follow Alex on Facebook as well. And yeah, he's just scrolling back through his website. A lot of amazing stuff in here. So, can you zoom out some of the zoom in some of the pictures, maybe? Oh, okay.
There's like some stuff I did for Applibot, Centaur.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of more of a. This is more of the stuff I do for my personal work. Really weird, strange things.
Yeah, it's very captivating. In the same time, it's kind of scary and monster-like, but it's still very captivating and kind of original with many ways. So how do you come up with these ideas, basically? Did you have like a bad dreams or?
This one actually started with the super speed paint topic. I think it was the Crimson King. I think it was the Crimson King. And I started with the crown, and it kind of just bled out from there. I thought it'd be cool if the crown kind of gained its own sentience and had its own brain and kind of made a body as it grew more evil and malevolent over the years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of I'm all over the place. A lot of the stranger ideas I have, just kind of they're an amalgamation of a lot of things that I've been thinking about or reading about or looking on the internet. And then a lot of the other stuff does come from like the little speed paint topics and things, and I just sit there and I think about what that does for me and where my mind goes when I read those little words and those little prompts. So it's a little bit of everything.
I noticed a lot of like different ideas for the mechs you have. They are quite like different from usually mechs that we can see online. With like a little bit of funny feature with a lot of functional still and hard surface, hard edge, curves and stuff. But they are having a lot of nice story to them as well. How do you like actually come up with ideas for the mechs maybe? Because you really love them, right? You have a lot of them.
Yeah, it's a little passion project for me. A lot of these, I like drawing robots that don't have weapons and things on them. You know, like what would these be used for? You know, I find a function first and then try to design stuff around them. Mm-hmm. So like this guy was a pipe fixing robot for like an oil pipeline. So, I tried to think, I don't know if this would technically be functional in real life, but, they could clasp around the oil pipeline and kind of spin around underwater while they welded and fixed the spots. So it's a lot of, I'll come up with a a function or something, a problem that needs to be solved, and then figure out how that can be done design-wise with little, just what's a fun way to solve that problem.
Awesome.
So that's kind of how I go for a lot of the robot stuff. I think there's a lot of people that do the war mechs and the really badass stuff super well. So I let them reign supreme, and I kind of tried to find my own way to do my robots.
That Coca-Cola one is just wicked.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, this was that was Al Brady. At first, it was a Frito-Lay vending machine, and then Al Brady did a quick little paint over, and I ran with that. But yeah, like the drive-up, print a vending machine with all the Coke and stuff inside of it, and then it could drive away and print another one. So it's just like a mobile vending machine printer.
So usually from the different usual daily stuff, you try to do something that has its own story and its own like unique design with a little bit of funny feature as well.
Yeah, that's the keeping a little bit of fun in my work helps me not go crazy when I'm doing constant client work all of the time. You can laugh a little bit and be a little silly and cut loose. It keeps everything fresh for me while I'm working all the time.
So maybe it's a good time to actually show some of your older works, and then maybe we can go back to your new one before the demo part. So actually, you can just tell us a little bit how have you started, what are your beginnings, and yeah, just tell your story to us. It would be all interesting, I guess, for people that are watching us right now.
So I've been kind of drawing and painting in some way, shape, or form since I was a little kid. But for the longest time, I didn't quite have a path or a very dedicated way I wanted to go about doing art or pursuing art. So I just kind of meandered. I went to Portland State University for 3 years before I dropped out. And around that time, I wanted to do fine art. I wanted to do oil painting and acrylic painting and kind of be in the gallery scene. But I didn't know how I wanted to voice myself or what I wanted to do with my work. So I kind of just wandered for a while. And it was right around this time I found conceptart.org and all of the digital stuff that was going on, and really just all of these super badass people. And as you can see, here's my first badass example of concept art. Found a stylus and a Wacom and Photoshop, and I had no idea what I was doing. So
what was the year in?
This is 2010.
Oh, okay.
This was done, so 5 years ago now. Wow, that's a long time.
Oh man, huge improvement.
So this was right around when I was like, okay, I don't want to do fine art anymore. I want to figure out what this is. I want to work in games. I want to work in movies. I want to draw this fun, imaginary stuff. So I started to figure out how to paint digitally, and it was a huge trial and error process. I just dropped out of college. I was like, fuck, I have to do this now. I have to make this work, but I don't know what I'm doing. So it was a really scary time. But the crowds and the people in the community on conceptart.org were super helpful in kind of pointing me in the right direction and telling me everything I was doing wrong.
Yeah, so basically you took a huge risk, but as we can see right now, it was worth.
Here's one of my early pencil drawings. This is before I knew what value was, what hatching with form and drawing. I was just fucking going for it. It's a old concept art pencil character drawing. I really liked Alex Pashenko at this time, if you can tell.
Yeah.
This was so here's one of my first digital concepts I started doing. This was for an industrial design of the week, and it's a work in progress. I was all over the place. Right, I was still trying to figure out how to even use Photoshop and how to get into the process, and then once I kind of found a process that works, a year or two later, things seemed to go a little smoother. But even now, it's like, this is an experimental time, definitely.
Yeah. Still 2010, right?
Yeah, this is late 2010, kind of, right, February or March, probably, I think. Because this is right around when, here's an old acrylic painting. But this is right around when I applied to the art department on conceptart.org with Phil Leitz and a couple other people, and got in, and then realized, oh shit, I have to take this a little more seriously. So this was within a couple months, I had myself time to prepare for actually going to a school that I thought was going to just give me everything that I needed outside of what I was doing at Portland State. Here's my first character design. It's the Crystal Knight, I think I was calling it. So this was, yeah, it brings back some memories looking at this stuff. So then this was my first full digital illustration I did at the art department, or TAD. This was the beginning of learning actually to thumbnail out pictures, you know, think about values, think about the shapes in an image, and start to think about stuff outside of just like, oh, how am I going to paint this, you know? Like when I learned how to approach an image, I guess, a little more thoughtfully.
Yeah, what resource have you used like in the past for actually knowing that all that technical part of painting, like values and stuff? It's just like it all came with on practice, or you just watch for some, I don't know, like books or documentaries or tutorials? Because in the past it wasn't that much of them, right? It wasn't that it wasn't that often like we have right now. It's common.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, it was all self-taught. I was just everything that I was trying to figure out. I kind of, up until about this point, I was figuring out on my own. And just even conceptart.org, there were little, like, Peter Koenig had a cool tutorial. The Massive Black videos were out there, and those are the things I first started to digest and think about and watch. But up until this point, I was kind of just, I was super stubborn. I didn't want to listen to anybody. I was like 18 years old. And I was like, fuck everything, I know what I'm doing. But in reality, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue. So it was kind of, it was an eye-opener going to a school with a bunch of faculty who actually knew about illustration and concept art and could impart that knowledge. It was very humbling. So it was like right around this time, you know, I think I got James Gurney's Color and Light book, Richard Schmidt's Alla Prima. Started getting into like Izumo Jiyuki. He's got a book called Industrial Divinities. Found that. That was like, holy shit, robots are fucking awesome. There were, you know, that was my first taste out of robots that weren't just Gundam and Front Mission and stuff like that. So that was cool. And then this is kind of when I started actually painting from life and painting from reference and resources that were actually going to give me information that I wanted and needed to paint form and paint light. I think these were right around when Dave Raposa was doing his cool-ass portraits and stuff like that were going up. And I was like, I need to do that. So I tried my best to do that. This is a school assignment. This is kind of a first foray into editorial illustration practice.
So you had like a different bunch of stuff to do, like from concepts to illustration, or? Yeah,
so that school that I went to, kind of the first 2 years were all about, you know, doing everything. So you painted from life, you did figure painting, you did illustration, editorial illustration, card illustrations, a little bit of concept art, and then a lot of like basic perspective stuff, color theory, and all of those areas of foundations.
So was it mixed with between digital painting and traditional?
The foundations program at the art department was primarily traditional, and then, you know, you would start out doing everything traditionally, and then the latter half of the assignments of that portion of whatever you were doing would be digital, and they would let you carry everything you learned into the digital realm.
Okay.
But they tried to keep everything pretty traditional and pretty tactile, so you could kind of figure out what you like and what you don't like. Because the faculty there, they were big fans of everything you do traditionally can be translated to digital, and the stuff you do digitally is always much richer if you can do that traditionally, because you start to replicate traditional media. So they put a heavy emphasis on learning how to draw and paint outside the computer first.
All right. So how long did it take to, actually how long was the program in the foundation?
Foundations was 1.5 years, and then the major part was another 1.5 years. So the total program was about 3 years. So this is right. I think this is like 2011, mid 2011, and this is when things kind of started to click for me. I felt like I was a little more comfortable with digital. I felt like I at least was starting to develop a workflow on stuff that I liked and was getting to learn how to paint how I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So I was no longer just constantly fumbling in the dark.
1 year, and so it's so huge progress between like the stuff that you showed in the beginning, like in this is what we see right now. It's like really big gap between of them, like huge progress. So you've been practicing quite intensive, right, in this period?
Yeah, that year of progress was, I was in Austin, Texas, working with a cool group of dudes, just literally in a studio 12 to 14 hours a day for like a year straight. It was a lot of work. It paid off definitely, but yeah, it was a year of intensive study.
Awesome.
This was one of my first illustrations where I was like, yes, I feel like I finally kind of know what I'm doing, and I got really excited and just wanted to paint a bunch more.
Mm-hmm.
So this is more early work from the beginnings of me finally figuring digital art out, for lack of a better words, a little more successful than what I've been doing.
So did you start, for instance, like this kind of stuff? Did you start it with on paper and then scan it and paint on top of it in Photoshop, or just straight in digital?
This guy started as pencil drawing, and then I scanned it in and started painting on top in pencils in digital and Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
More fun little homeless guy. I think I was really into Transient Man and Massive Black and all of those guys right about now. So I was like, I need to figure out how they paint. So I was doing a lot of stuff along those lines. And then this is when I finally was getting into photo studies and realizing I need to paint from a wide variety of things digitally to kind of figure out colors and light and how materials interact with stuff. So this was kind of when I took my comfortable with digital and then realized I needed to do a whole lot more.
Yeah, but in the same time, you've still been doing traditional like you do today, right? That you told me before.
Yeah, there was a time where I finally hit the point where I liked what I was doing traditionally, but I felt like I really needed to learn Photoshop and painting digital media. So from probably 2012 to 2013, end of 2013, I was pretty much all just on the computer.
All right.
So there's a big chunk of me where I was like, I couldn't use the lasso tool traditionally, and there are all these things. It's like, this is really cool, and I got really excited.
Yeah, it's like exploring new stuff. It always makes you excited, and you really want to actually try it out.
Yeah, and like once I got really into it, and I realized I didn't have to clean my brushes, I didn't have to buy new brushes, I didn't have to buy paints, I didn't need windows all the time for the fumes and everything. It was like, oh, computers are pretty cool.
Yeah, you don't need to wait till it dry and.
Yeah. So.
Oh, this is very cool.
Thanks. Yeah, this is when I was finally really feeling like I could have fun with the stuff I was doing on the computer. I feel like I wasn't so limited to my skill set, and I was just experimenting at that point. So this is kind of around when I was like realizing that I wanted to be very colorful with my work and a little more playful, rather than, because up until this point I was like, I'm going to paint the darkest, most extreme shit.
So what really affected you to do that switch? Because we can see like you have a lot of monstery like pictures right now, but they are still having some fun in it, and still having a lot of like nice colors, like light colors, even though they are the subjects are very monstrous. And what really pushed you into that direction?
Right around that time was when I started getting back into Pixar films and DreamWorks films and the art of those books, and I was really, I guess a thing clicked in my head that I really liked the color and the light and just the playfulness of everything those guys were doing. And I think it was the radical difference from that and everything I was looking at on conceptart.org and CG Hub, that it was super appealing and it was really refreshing. So I started watching all of those movies. I started getting more into animation, Tech on Concrete and a lot of stuff like that. And I think over time, it's all of that was in the back of my head because I was watching them constantly while I was painting. I think they just kind of really blended into my work, and here I am today with a lot more colorful stuff. These are for a little Big Planet school assignment for like Halloween monsters. These are really fun.
Nice. Yeah, really nice. I like this guy that is keeping his head in his hand. It's really cool. So, like, how long usually how much time they usually gave you for one task? It was like a weekly task or monthly or?
In school, there's usually weekly tasks. Every class had like weekly things going on. There was always something assigned on Monday, due on Friday, or assigned on Friday, due following Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So the latter half of the program was geared towards industry pipeline standards. So it's like if you don't do your work, you didn't turn your homework in, you failed that assignment, you'd technically be fired, kind of stuff.
Yeah. So basically, you had to practice also your pace and tempo of finishing the stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool. It's like environments as well.
Yeah, this is our first foray into like simple environments in school. I was watching a lot of Feng Zhu videos at this time. That guy's a beast. And then here's this is for my pitch illustration class. We had to paint mock magic cards. And this was kind of the first painting that started kind of where I'm at now, I think. This is definitely still a touchstone. It's got a little bit of a silly vibe to it. I still paint like this pretty closely.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of the beginning of where I'm at now. This guy and this guy.
The beginning of Alex.
So that was, I think these are 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Beginning of 2013, I think I did these. End of 2012. So, and that's all I saved off from all the old stuff.
Cool. So it's
I hope that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say I hope that kind of gives a little bit of a heads up on where I started, where I came from.
Yeah, it definitely gave us the insight of how fast you actually improved.
A lot of time sitting in front of the computer.
Yeah, it all needs some not even some it all needs a huge devotion, right? So
yeah, I can't stop. I'm pretty heavy into doing what I'm doing now. Sometimes to the detriment of a lot of other things in my life.
So right now you are just continuing with your you told me with your monster stuff. It's like you're going to do more of like a personal project in the future, like maybe art book, or do you plan doing something like this with your own monster series, or is like more the stuff that makes you chill out, or?
Well, actually, I've got a project I'm working on now called Rogue's Galaxy. There's an interior from it.
Oh, awesome.
It's about a bunch of goblins that fly around in space. So I'm kind of cycling through ideas and story notes. Here's a work in progress. And just kind of piecing all this stuff together. So this is going to be one project. I've actually got three projects I'm working on now. Rogue's Galaxy, Goblins in Space, Obscura, and then I've got a little horror book that I'm putting together of like really creepy, gross stuff with a little short story next to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
awesome. So a lot of like different variations as well. So you actually just put yourself into it. How do you find like time to actually let it go with your freelance stuff?
I've been trying. Well, it's trying recently, but unsuccessfully, to have more of a regimented schedule. So it's like working on freelance. You stop freelance for the day, and then it's time to do personal work.
Okay.
And get the personal stuff going. But it's some days I don't work on this at all. Some days there's waiting on feedback for freelance work, and I can work on this stuff all day long. So it's it's a constant struggle to make sure things are being done on both ends, but you know, it's a labor of love. So it's, you know, when time is available, I try and sink the time in.
Mm-hmm. It's nice.
Thanks,
I love the years.
So it's like, you know, good goblins were never really, they're never really portrayed as good guys in a lot of pop culture stuff and a lot of games. So this was kind of my, and they're never in space other than like Warhammer. So this was my little effort to do a little bit of both.
So even those ships that they're in it looks a little bit like a goblin face, like if you can scroll back.
Yeah, so all their tech,
yeah, it's
all their
very...
tech has little, you know, silhouette cues and things to nod back to their noses and their chins and their ears.
Yeah, it's amazing. So what's the plan for this particular project for you? Is like you want to do it like a maybe like a game or like some movie or?
First step for this is a comic book, graphic novel. I'm being loose with the term because I don't know if it'll be like a full-on panel-by-panel comic or if it'll have some words and some paintings. But a narrative book first, and then probably, I mean, I would love a game, but probably like some toys, some like art toys kind of stuff.
Awesome.
And then everything I'm doing now is just kind of book-oriented. And then, you know, if there is a next step could be taken.
Nice.
But,
oh, this is really cool. That makes likes.
So this is Barrow. He's the junior adept to the scientist guy on the ship. The scientist guy made the mushroom sentient so they could help him around the ship. And then Barrow was super smart, so they gave him like a human-sized mech suit.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, like this is just I've got some other things here, but I want to keep a little bit of it top secret until the book's going. But yeah, there's that project, and then there's Obscura too, which is just kind of like it's my own little Wayne Barlow story, where it's, you know, just exploring a really weird world.
Yes.
Just doing kind of just my excuse to have fun and get really involved in painting just out there, outlandish kind of stuff and creatures.
Did you start those projects like almost in the same time, like parallelly, or like how did actually when did you start it? Because you are keeping it going all the time, and you have to somehow let them going in the same time, right? You're doing 2-3 projects, as you said. Like, when did you started them all? Like one after another, or?
They've been pretty organic. Goblins in Space has always, but they've always kind of drawn the sci-fi goblins. They've always kind of lived in my sketchbook. But this one, Obscura, also formed free flow over like doing spit paints and things. A lot of the paintings started from spit paint topics, and then I put them in a folder. And over time, it grew into a project. And then when I got up here to Santa Monica and started working with Dan and everybody here, it became more of a serious imperative to turn them into something beyond just a group of paintings. You know, I've attached a writer to this project that I met through a mutual friend of Dan and I's, and he's helping, you know, write some words and put some prose to it that is a little more substantial than what I could do now, because, you know, I'm definitely more of an artist and not so much a writer. So it's been fun to kind of piece everything together, but it's definitely been a very organic kind of process. But yeah, so I mean, those are a lot of the projects that are taking my time up outside of freelance work.
Cool. Yeah, it's really awesome how you can just get rid of, like, actually let them go in the same time as you are doing still the work. And do you even sleep, or?
Yeah, I sleep at least 8 hours a day. I
Cool.
can't function without it. Cool. I turn into a bubbling idiot. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of a little taste of what I've been up to recently. here's some stuff from that horror. This is like I think I put this on. Yeah, I put this on Facebook.
Yes.
This is like one of the paintings that will be in that horror book I'm doing. So it'll be like a painting on one page, and then on the other page, just a really simple, creepy little short story. You know, probably no longer than a paragraph.
Mm-hmm. What was like a like, because it's like you have a lot of different, like quite different ideas for even the same kind of spirit of the pictures. So how did you like came up with that? For instance, the first picture from this folder.
I think this one was a super speed paint topic called Soul Catcher, and everybody was painting really cool like demonic things and fantasy type settings.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like a hospital, like somebody dying in a hospital of either natural causes or maybe just things, it's weak and the person can't fight back, so it pulls the souls out of them. But it was like just that little bit of a thought while I was looking over everything. It was like, oh, that might be cool. And then, so I just ran with it. And a lot of my stuff, you know, I think it's just a thought that pops into my head and an idea that I think might be fun to play around with and illustrate. And then it just kind of just run with it.
Yeah, I found it really good to actually pick up some of the questions, some of the topics from like daily speed paint or super speed painting fun times, because the topic that gives you immediately like some ideas that maybe you could just didn't come up with while sitting and trying to, you know, find something interesting. And this is like immediately creates the images in your mind that you want to actually put out on the canvas. So I think it's really good to actually recommend to people to go to some of the level Facebook groups, or like, you know, just try to pick up some of the topics from the contest or whatever and try to reinterpret them on their own way, right?
Yeah, you know, I actually the more I do stuff like this, even if even if it's loosely based off of the concept, the moment I give myself a few parameters to limit what I can and can't do with a painting, sometimes the more creative I get, and it's, you know, it's definitely a little bit of a testing ground for doing a lot of freelance work, because, you know, sometimes you're just told what to paint and you have to make that fun. So it's being able to look at, you know, a couple words or a little topic and be like, okay, I have to do something cool with that. I find my brain sometimes works better with those parameters and those strictures than just being able to do whatever I want.
Yeah, exactly. I noticed the same actually. Just look at some topic and alright, it's like something that I want to paint, and it's like a very natural process, because you don't really need to struggle with some ideas or doodling around in your own blank canvas, right? You can just really have the pure idea, and as we can see, you can evolve those ideas into your personal project, which is amazing. So.
Yeah, because, you know, before you know it, you may do 2 or 3 that started out from completely random topics, but all of a sudden you've got a collection of images that you feel are cohesive, or they're building out. You know, maybe the next one builds off the previous one, and that's just even little simple things like that can start to build the foundations for something really cool that you'll really enjoy.
Yeah. All right. Let me see if something is going on in the chat, and I would like to encourage people who was watching us right now to keep posting your questions to Alex, and before even we move into the demo part, you can just post some questions and I will pick it up. So Alex, you don't need to actually bother about them. I will just pick them up for you. And if you want, maybe we can move to the demo part or some kind of painting part.
Let's paint some stuff.
Yeah.
So I drew a little drawing, a tank drawing, a couple of days ago, and I'm going to paint this guy.
Can you maximize the window? Or?
Yeah, sorry.
People already started, and I see some of the question from the beginning of the session. And what was your first job, and how did you break into actually industry? Because we've been talking about your background, your stuff, and maybe if you can just give some of the insight of how have you started actually professionally working in our industry.
I think the first job I had, industry job, was for AEG Games, working on Legend of the Five Rings, I think it was, their little trading card game. And not amazing work. It didn't, it was very low tier fantasy freelance illustration. But that kind of, it sharpened my teeth a little bit. It let me figure out how to work with art directors, and it was a low entrance skill set kind of job, so I could get a job really quickly. And then, from there, I kind of figured out how to handle art director feedback, how to talk with art directors, and how to kind of get jobs done in a timely fashion. And then once I kind of worked for them for a while, I applied to Fantasy Flight Games, Hawks Nora for Sony Online Entertainment, and from there, just slowly, one client after another, just found one that I liked, and then would try and work for them, and then I'd work for them for a few months until I had work that I liked, and then I'd find another one, and I would just kind of rinse and repeat until I had a little stable of clients that were paying the bills and keeping me on my toes with work that was challenging.
Yeah.
So I was always making sure to not be stagnant with my work.
Yeah. So basically, just it went really naturally after you got the first gig, and then just everything went a smooth way.
Yeah. I tried to not psych myself out with thinking I needed to do a million things all at once. So I just, one thing, then one thing, then one thing, then one thing, and kind of taking it slow seemed to help pretty well. And just focusing and doing good work, and then focusing and doing good work.
So there's someone is asking if someone can't attend a decent art course, how is it possible to learn the fundamentals and to know if it's going in the right direction? What do you think?
AJ was talking about this at his Creative Juice Expo, but the internet is a huge resource, and the amount of people that you can reach out to and talk to, even if it's just a couple words, helps so much. Sorry, take a drink of water. And there's all of the forums now, the Gumroad tutorials available. There are so many, the level up sessions. The Crimson Daggers was a big one when I was coming up, but these communities now that are building themselves up online, where everyone's really positive, everyone's really happy to give back and talk to you about your work. Hannes, he's got what's his Permanoob? I know that forum is supposed to be pretty good. But yeah, just reach out to people on the internet if you don't have a way to really get in with a good program. And just network through there, because I was surprised at how many people would actually get back to me and talk to me if I sent them a piece of work and wanted feedback or just a little bit of insight into what was going on. Because you email 10 people, 2 or 3 will get back to you, and maybe 1 gives you a really nice answer.
Yeah, but I think with time it all just grown so much. Even 2-3 years ago, there was no that much of knowledge. There was a lot of free groups on Level Up or on Facebook, or just even Gumroad tutorials that are really cheap and you can get the knowledge for $5. It was it's all getting bigger right now, and it's much easier. But the way that you need to go through it is just to actually move yourself and motivate yourself to actually start learning, right? Because even if you go to the best possible course or the best possible school, no one will do the stuff for you. You need to force yourself to actually do it. And the
hardest part is still just sitting down to paint. Like you said, all the Gumroads, all the lectures, all the tutorials, they don't mean anything unless you sit down to try and figure out how to implement them. So that's probably the other big thing, is just working a lot, having fun with what you're doing and staying persistent.
Yeah. I saw some of the comments last time. It was about, I think, Maciej Kuchara Gumroad or no, Marek Okoń, I guess, because he used some ZBrush process in one of his illustration, and some of the people just, some of the person just commented that it's amazing tutorial, but I gave up on the part of ZBrush. But this is how you show. If you know that in some of the tutorial there is some hidden knowledge that the artists want to explore and show you. You need to know that you also need to be prepared in terms of tools, because no tutorial from like Gumroad or from Gnomon or any other resource, they won't show you how to actually start using ZBrush. You need to have like some of your own research before you actually start understanding some of the tutorials. And I noticed that some of the people just maybe don't really get this thing that they need to actually start researching on their own before the tutorial, before the reading or watching the tutorials, because tutorials are not the way that you will become an amazing artist. They will help you, but you need to also do some of the research on your own, and you need to actually be prepared to some of your like specifications or some of the requirements the artist want to pass the knowledge to you. So.
Yeah, it's like, John Park, he's got his foundation of Intro to Form Design, and he's got 2 other classes, but you can only take those other classes if you take his prerequisites. So it's, a lot of Gumroads out there are very advanced for as far as the workflows goes and people are using. So yeah, I mean, it helps a lot having those little bits of information and that little bit of knowledge about your programs that you're using before doing all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Because it's quite impossible to actually show you during the tutorial what's the work of every button in the program. And it's like nonsense of the actual tutorial, because it's about the creating or the showing some process. And some of the people, I also needed to make up some of the expectations when I was watching some of the tutorials in the past, because I didn't know how to use some of the stuff even in Photoshop. So it's not like you have to be prepared. You have to take yourself and push yourself farther into the right direction, and motivate yourself to actually study on your own as well, not only just based wholly on the material that you have in front of your eyes. So.
Yeah, no, yeah, totally. It's you get out only what you put into it. So if you put in 100%, you'll get out 100%.
Yeah. So maybe we can talk a little bit about the stuff that you are doing right now. We can see it's like a tank with 3 barrels, right? What's the direction that you want to put it into? Like, you are rendering right now, right?
Yeah, so it's when I do most of my drawings, I start out with a simple line drawing, and then I'll use a lot of clipping masks for to keep everything really tight, and then I'll go. So right now I'm just blocking in all the local colors of everything. So it's this right color, right value, and then from here I'll probably put my lights in, which would be like multiply layer for my shadows and the overlay for the light. So and then I keep everything on clipping masks because it stays really tight, and if I have to paint behind anything or change anything, it's all separated.
Yeah, you can easily block the shapes, basically.
So it's like, this is where then I'll go in and I'll light stuff.
So you tend to usually start with like a line work, right? And then just fill the areas with some colors and light afterwards.
Yeah, I think it was Koro said everything you do is if it's right shape, right color, it's in right value, it's going to look good. So I just try and focus on a drawing, keep the shapes right, and then if the drawing's there, I can worry about the values and the colors as it goes together. And for me, that helps keep the rendering straightforward. I don't do a lot of guesswork. So I used to paint with a lot of paint blobs and just kind of like going for the painting. And I found, I'd finish the painting and I'd be happy with it, but I started to realize I was wasting a lot of time with guesswork. does this look like this? You know, is this playing correctly? And then once I started doing more drawings beforehand, I was able to eliminate a lot of my fumbling where I didn't quite know what forms were.
Mm-hmm. So you find this process more natural and more organic when you have
Yes.
like all the sorted out before you actually put all the rendering stuff. You have everything thought through before, and you can just go to the very pleasant part of the painting, which is like rendering, when you have all sorted out before.
Yeah, you know, and then when if you have your drawing done and all of your colors are established, the moment you go in and put a little bit of a cast shadow or a core shadow on the stuff, it's like, oh, you know, it's already, the half of my job's already done. And that's what I enjoy of this process, is you cut out a big chunk of that it looks shitty phase, which I think is kind of the hardest part to get through of a painting, where you feel like you know the painting is going in a good direction, but you have to convince yourself it's not going to look like shit like it does now, and you keep going. Because that for me is kind of the hardest part of finishing big paintings, is that constant reassurance that it's not going to look like a pile of shit when you're done with it.
There is some question about the stuff that we always take up on Level Up, because it always gets a lot of discussion and controversy, I would say. What do you think about 3D and how it actually is important, maybe in your pipeline, to use 3D whilst you are doing concept art?
Yeah, well, I don't use a terrible amount of 3D right now because my computer can't handle it, but I can see the beneficial nature of using like ZBrush for things. Like in Merrick's tutorial, a lot of that stuff he was painting on top of was in a production pipeline. You'd be hard pressed to be able to sit down and take all the time to paint that just with your hands. So it's like as a means to an end, I think it's a great tool, and it's incredibly beneficial to people who use it and use it in their workflows. I'd like to get more into it once I have the resources to put it on my computer.
All right. Yeah, because it's like it's very hot topic all the time, because people are asking us if they need to know 3D to become a concept artist, and we still have a lot of ones like you and other guys that don't really need to use the 3D, even if they are not having opportunity to use them. Sometimes you don't really need to use it, right? Because because you can paint it, you can feel it. You don't really need to. Sometimes the pipeline, the time schedule, it all somehow demanded, but no 3D will make you amazing concept artists. So it can be helpful. It is definitely helpful. It's amazing. It's amazing stuff to actually know some 3D, because it will teach you a lot about lighting, a lot about the forms, a lot about the shading and stuff. But it's not mandatory to actually use it, right?
Yeah, and it's also has to do with who you're working for or who you're working with at that point in time. Because
Exactly.
A lot of studios just need the concept art isn't like Naughty Dog, for instance. They need those nice cinematic pieces that have the lighting. They've got a scope and a feeling for the game, and using Modo and stuff like that for a game, that helps really quickly to establish everything you need to show for your concept.
Exactly.
But if you work at Blizzard or you work for Insomniac, when they just need really fun designs and the emphasis on fun designs and cool shapes and things that look good in game, then you can get by just being able to draw and paint, because they just need to see what do those shapes look like and how does this design look, and it doesn't have to be like the most beautiful thing ever.
Exactly. It's all about the selling the ideas, to be honest.
Yeah, like the Mass Effect art book is a great example of very, very helpful, great concept art, but it's not a great, beautiful 3D render. It's just really good shapes, and it shows the function and utility of the design.
Yeah, and as you said, it's also depends on the project you're working on. Sometimes it's really needed to use it because of the like limited time or whatever, everyone is using it. But usually it's all about the ideas, as you said. So. Let me check for some more questions. I think you partly covered it before, but maybe you can answer it a little bit more. Uh, who are the artists that inspires you and used to inspire you in the beginning?
I think in the beginning, it was definitely a lot of like Greg Capullo and Todd McFarlane and those old comics guys.
Mm-hmm.
All of those old X-Men shows on TV, the Batman animated show, all those old cartoons, huge inspiration to me. Ren and Stimpy, all of those silly cartoons that were on not Adult Swim, but like MTV and those old cartoon channels. Sci-Fi Channel in the United States, there's a channel called the Sci-Fi Channel, and it has something called Annie Mondays, where they'd show like really brutal, violent anime every Monday. And I'd always want to stay home sick and sit around and watch that. So those were big influences on me growing up. But then now, I'm a big fan of Wayne Barlow, Mobius, Izumo Jiyuki is one of my favorite like industrial designers.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Hale. I like paintings like that. N.C. Wyatt, Dean Cornwell, a lot of old Golden Age illustrators are really big for me. They've got really nice shapes, really good, iconic compositions.
Mm-hmm.
Stanislaw Beksinski, he's probably, as far as like surreal, strange paintings goes, that guy's probably one of my top favorites. But
quite a lot of them, to be honest.
Yeah, that's and then it's like a lot of music and just random sculptures and architecture and stuff too. It's like I keep a lot of inspirations and a lot of visual flair. I keep the range, I guess, pretty diverse because I find inspiration in a lot of weird things. I've been taking pictures of traffic, like oil reading and water meters around here in Santa Monica because they have really weird shapes and they're usually painted like green, yellow, and orange, or like really weird colors. So I've been taking pictures of those because that's been going back into my mech stuff.
So you actually also do your own reference sets, right? Your camera.
Yeah, for illustrations and stuff. Not so much now because I've kind of backlogged a bit of pictures and things that I still use. But yeah, I used to stage a lot of reference shoots for hands and cloth folds and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So if you just approach with some like characters, for instance, you also do some photo shots of your, I don't know, like your friends or yourself even.
Yeah, if I'm just doing like a character or just doing like some light concepting, I'll usually just pull stuff off of Google or like DeviantArt. So they've got a huge stock photo section. The reference I shoot for myself is usually only for like really particular things and illustrations where I don't feel comfortable in painting that kind of information. So I'll go get some photos and help put the confidence back up that way.
Cool. How do you find it? Because I'm planning to actually buy some decent camera to shoot some of my own reference. How do you find it's like you recommend it to because a lot of people are also asking about it, about the reference and where do they need to find the reference, and I just started thinking about maybe shooting my own ones. And how do you do you recommend them, and what do you think actually about shooting your own reference?
I would highly recommend shooting your own reference. If you know what you need to shoot or how you need to shoot it, that resource is invaluable. You really can't beat being able to dictate everything that you need for a reference photo, take it, and then go back and look at it for your own paintings. It's the faces that you shoot for reference will always be in the right angles that you need them for your painting, because you can tell the model to no, that doesn't work. Turn your head this way, and it's the accuracy with which you'll get from those photos and that reference is amazing. And it's also your photo. Nobody else on the internet is painting from that photo, so it's it's specific to you and your painting, and that's awesome.
Yeah, and you have also copyrights. You hold the copyright, so it's really interesting. I just started thinking about it when I got a little bit frustrated when I was researching for some of the photos and I couldn't find the ones that I really want to base on, and it's like, oh, I need to start using it. And some of the people in the studio were we had a quite a chat about it, and some of the stuff that I've been doing last time, we just made like a photo session, and it's quite cool because you can actually pose the people around in the studio, and we can actually do whatever you have in your mind. You can sketch it out and first, and then you can actually pose the people and then take a photo and paint it. So it's really good.
Yeah, and then in a situation like that, it's awesome too because then everybody can pool. It's like, well, that person's got a leather jacket, that guy's got some guns, that guy's got a sword. Like all of a sudden, you have a bunch of extra resources to pool together too. Where now you can take really elaborate reference shoots where it's not just somebody standing in their underwear. It's like an actual photo with a composed costume and shit like that. And yeah, it's invaluable. I can't recommend doing stuff like that enough.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe if you can still ask a little bit about the process that you are doing right now. You are still rendering, and you're putting the shadows and the colors in the right order. Do you have any ideas of how will you put it further, like any maybe some character or some additional detail, or you will stick to this line work and just try to finish and render it out?
So it's my process for this stuff will usually go, so it'll be like a line drawing, and then I'll put all the colors in, and then I'll do like what I'm doing now, where I'm just refining all of the light shapes. And this is all everything's still in a clipping mask. Right now I'm just painting on a normal layer on top. And then I'll get to a point where we're pretty close to now, I'll just do it now, and I'll flatten everything. And then now this is where I'll start to like, I don't like this piece in the back. I can start to cut into the silhouette, and this is where I'll start to change and push and pull all of my shapes. So it's like, you know, it's kind of closed off right now, like these treads should be all metal sluggy, where they push the silhouette out. And this is kind of where I'll get into the fun part of both rendering and pushing the design so everything feels really nice.
I love how you build the shadow structure. It's all very plastically. You can easily feel, and you can just feel that the three-dimensional form on this tank, which is really like you've created it like super fastly, and it's really amazing.
Thanks. That helps for me. I like this workflow. I think Devin Platts was the first one. His blog's got a great Texahol. His blog's got a great little workflow where it's pretty much this to a T, but it helped. Once I started working like this, it helped establishing all the lights and stuff. It cut out so much of the guesswork and so much of the legwork of actually getting the painting started that it just enabled getting right into the meat of the painting really quickly. And for concept art, that was like, oh my god, I need to do more of this.
Yeah, it's like you can see that you are just certainly doing what you really wanna do. You don't mess around with stuff. You have all sorted out, as you said previously. You have all sorted out before, and you can just fill the space very deliberately, which is really amazing. So.
Yeah, and then it gives you time to focus on just the core essentials of the design. You know, when I start fighting the painting, I notice I start fighting my designs, and that is really bad. So I try and avoid that for myself as much as possible.
Yeah, I think maybe maybe add some guy and the turret, just wave around.
I didn't really think about how big this tank is.
Oh yeah. Here we go. Guys, if you have any more questions to Alex, feel free to post them, so I'll pick it up. About maybe the process of the painting that he is doing right now, so feel free to post any of them. Will we see right now any goblin pilot, tank pilot? Thumbs up. Someone asked, someone posted a question about how do you deal with the art block, and if you have any of them.
Yeah, whenever, man, yeah, that's a good question. I go and paint from life a lot. If I have an art block, or I'll go plein air painting, or I'll draw just things I'm really comfortable with help too. It's like if I don't know what I'm doing, I'll draw a robot, or I'll go back and I'll start painting a goblin. Or, you know, sometimes if I do feel art block, I'm perfectly okay with just like playing Borderlands or Hearthstone or something not art related to just clear my mind. Because if there's one thing I've come to realize is you can't beat burnout and art block. You just kind of got to work with it, because the moment you start forcing stuff out, then you're hating the art that you're forcing out, and then you're kind of back to where you started. So it's, you know, I try and do things that relax me and things that I know that I will have fun with until I feel like, okay, I'll do that. And I try not to be concerned with the fact that I'm doing something I painted a million times before. It's more of just that I'm still painting, so that's what's important. And then over time, you know, you'll get the stuff out and you'll work past it.
Yeah, you need to refresh your mind sometimes, because it's like, you know, it's just a matter of sitting all the time in front of the computer that we all do. So we need actually to have some breaks and, you know, just refresh our mindset and.
Yeah.
To be able to keep working and be creative, right?
Yeah, I found some of the best ways to combat that is just making sure you're never in the studio. Like, I try and get out and have beers once a week, and, you know, ride your bike and just be out of the studio and away from the computer throughout the week. So it's, you know, it helps to constantly keep you refreshed. You know, you weren't sitting there all day, so then when you go back to the computer, it still feels nice. You feel like you want to work. It's the days where I'm at the computer 12 hours a day, 3 days in a row, 4 days in a row, it's just like, oh, fuck, I want to kill myself, you know? And that's where the art block can be real. Art block can be real bad.
Yeah, what we do is amazing, but it's also very dangerous at some point if you just overwork yourself. You can easily get into, you know, somehow like be depressed or be like, you know, burnout, as you said, like. So just doing the breaks and having a decent sleep. I still having a lot of like the days that I don't sleep well. So usually I make it up for during the weekends. Yeah. So today I just slept 12 hours, and it's like really refreshing because.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, you charge your batteries before the whole like a hard week. So it's really important. And, you know, we are not machines, we are just only humans, so.
Yeah, you know, it's like what we do is all, you know, it's not mindless, and it all involves a heavy amount of thinking and cognitive function. So it's like if you aren't sleeping, if you aren't fueling your brain, the art's going to show it after a while, because, you know, you're not working at peak capacity.
Exactly.
So it's. So, you know, sometimes all you want to do is paint all the time, and it's like, fuck, I don't want to sleep, but you have to.
Yeah, sometimes there is like that kind of you know, situation when you really feel that your eyes are just going to close and you are just, you know, like maybe not burnout, but you are just dying because of being tired, but you still keep telling yourself, oh, I need to paint a little bit more, and you're just still staying in front of them, desk like your screen and painting, which is, which is good because you are still evolving, but it's not good for your health at some point. So
Yeah, and it's after a certain point too, I found that those extra 3 hours I was painting late into the night because I had to keep painting. I could have done all of that work and maybe better in an hour and a half if I had just gone to bed and done it the next morning. So that was a big eye-opener.
Yeah. I saw some really interesting question to you, of course. Your design and form language is really interesting. Do you have any tips to achieve a better sense of design and form? I think it's quite an interesting question.
I build a lot of models and do a lot of traditional sculpting. Not even like a final amount of sculpting, but I just push clay around. And I've found that, turning pieces around in your hands and being able to look at them in the real world and then put them together or figure out how they go together in a pleasing way has helped me kind of think about just, I guess, my designs in just purely shape sense before I start getting into a lot of function. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry.
No, but my brain was spinning. I couldn't grasp the word. But yeah, so it's building models and sculpting and doing stuff like that has helped a lot. But then also it's like I do a lot of drawing in the sketchbook where before I got really into robots, I used to just try and find ways to put boxes together that looked really cool. And then I'd put little cut lines on them and root it so it looked like a piece of metal or a piece of a mech. But just doing fun little exercises like that, where you just put shapes together until you find appealing ratios and formations and stuff, and then building designs out of that. I used to do a lot of exercises like that, which just kind of really was just like a cool shape machine exercise where it's just put stuff together, have fun, don't worry about too much of the function, just the form, and then everything else can follow after. And then then when you have a brief or you have something you have to draw or you have, this design has a function before you start drawing it, you can think about that while you put all the shapes into it. Yeah, and you don't really need to worry about the form if you already feel it, right? Yeah. Because I also had some of the experience with sculpting traditional, and I have to say it's like something that you can't really replace doing drawings or paintings. There's a lot of people just telling that you should do live studies. Of course, it really helps. It's really helpful in terms of knowing the form and understanding the form and showing the objects that are three-dimensional alike. But actually touching the form in real life and doing some shapes, some forms with your hands is something that you can't really miss. It's something amazing, and I think we can recommend it to everyone actually to start and to have that feeling at least once in your life, to actually understanding the forms, because it's amazing. Yeah, it's kind of like the same thing with figure drawing from life as opposed to just drawing naked people from photographs. Yeah, when exactly. You can start to stand up and walk around the figure and see where shapes and forms are going, when it's the gestures going this way, the weight of the figure. Of course. Yeah, of course. You can walk around. Yeah. Yeah, you can stand from different directions. The thing is, that is really good is nothing can really replace actually touching. So. Yeah, that. Yep. Can't do too much of that figure drawing. Yeah, but we know what we mean. So yeah. Yeah. Okay, let me check for some. There's some interesting question. Alex, would you recommend getting a studio job before freelancing, and what types of studio jobs are the best to do, say if you wanted to get into concept art? It's a little bit complicated question, but I think that we have a sense of it. Well, first and foremost, I have to say I've only ever done freelance, so it's my opinion on this comes from a position of only ever having done this on my own. Mm-hmm. But I can say that I know studio jobs offer a sense of being a part of a team and working with a team and working with people on a cohesive vision. So it's, if that's something that interests you, being able to work with people to collaborate and put something together and be a part of a pipeline where, you're depending on people and people are depending on you. Yes. That can be great. And it's because, that is there in freelance, but it's definitely, there's more autonomy if you work for yourself. And you really only work with one or two producers or art directors. So it's, you miss the collaborative effort, and it's still very much you and who you work for. So it's, it's more, I guess, of what you want out of the experience, I would say. That I've kind of enjoyed just doing my thing and working freelance, and kind of, I can work on my personal projects when I want. I can paint when I want. If I'm having trouble working, I can just go paint outside. But yeah, it's just, I think it's all about who as a person, what you want out of the work experience, because it can go both ways. It's really all about you and how you like to work with people.
Yeah, you just, as you said, you didn't have like any experience, but you perfectly covered it as you have experience with it. So what I can say is like, I'm also right now when I'm in the studio, it's like my 4th month ever doing the studio job, and what I can tell you is also the matter of working in the team. It's all about working in the team and actually associate yourself with them and doing something together, not like on the freelance that I used to be for years, and doing the stuff that is, I don't really care, and I don't really, I'm not really into it that much. If you are doing the freelance, you have more freedom. You have the stuff that you want to do. You can take more sleep. You can take more naps and whatever. But the thing in here, you have to be aware of how the project looks from the inside, and I'm not sure if it's like the only way to start with studio first, because I didn't start with studio, but I felt a little bit like a newbie at the beginning, but I think it's quite valuable to actually work with people in real life, and not only via Skype or emails. So this is really valuable experience. And yeah, if some of you guys that are watching us really feel that you want to work with people around, it's just go ahead, because it's really good. And of course, okay. Like sorry for interrupting, like learning new stuff, new techniques, new programs, new software, a lot of new experience, like a life experience. It's like something that it's really hard to achieve doing the freelance only. But yeah, you can just let it go with both, I think. So.
Yeah, and then I should also put in that even when I've been doing freelance, I've always I've kind of shared a studio environment where I've been in a room with a lot of people, and we're all, maybe we're not working on the same project, but we're all working on our own freelance together. Mm-hmm. And I think that's always been my primary working environment while I've been coming up doing all this stuff. So it's I would say that being in a room working with people while figuring all of your stuff out and coming up is really cool, because you can bounce ideas off of people really quickly.
Yeah, of course.
You can talk to people, and it's the sitting in your room painting all the time or in your studio home alone is really, really hard.
Yeah, I remember when we started doing the first level apps, and me and Wojtek were like living in the caves, like a caveman, just doing some stream from rainy Poland, and. Yeah, it was really like a groundbreaking experience when you actually hit the studio and just sit with more than 1 or 2 people in the room. It's even like tens of or even more, like 100 people in one big room. It's like something that's like really hard to actually achieve when you are doing it on your own only. So yeah, so basically it's what you really feel you want to do. It's like all about the like a personal choice, I think. I just felt I need to work with some people around me. Yeah, as you said, it's like really cool to actually sit with people around you in one room and share some thoughts, share some knowledge. It's really valuable. And give you like more freedom on the stuff that you maybe didn't explore on your own, and open your eyes on many things. So this is cool.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest part, was just being exposed to new ways of doing work or approaching work, or even just thinking that I wouldn't have got just sitting doing all of this by myself. So it's, yeah, working with other people is cool.
Cool. Yeah. Maybe have you ever done like some portfolio reviews for people? I'm not going to ask you to do it right now, but I have some questions, so maybe I will ask you first this one.
I've done a little bit, yeah, not a terrible amount, but I always like looking at work.
Okay, so what do you think? Like, it's like how, because some of the people are asking about the portfolios and how should they build it. What's the main tips that you have usually for them? Should they point the portfolio in one direction and focus on one company, or it should be like very versatile? What is your actually opinion about preparing portfolio for someone who wants to get the job in the industry of art?
You know, this is kind of a two-parter, I guess. Going for freelance work like Magic or Applibot or stuff like that, it's really good to have a super pinpointed exact portfolio. Like, I want to work for you guys. You hire freelancers for these types of paintings. You definitely need to be able to show you can do those types of paintings. So for a freelance portfolio like that, I would definitely say, pinpoint what they're working with, who they're working with, and what kind of work they like, and definitely pull out the sniper scope and try and pinpoint exactly what they want. I find with concept work and standing out and being a voice amongst the industry, because there are so many of us competing for all of these jobs to stand out and be unique. Definitely, pinpoint, if you want to work for Bungie, don't just draw knights and dragons and stuff like that. But don't be afraid to just do what you like, because it's more important to show them how you think and how you solve ideas and problems, more so than how pretty you paint. So, if you can show them what makes your brain tick and how you solve problems for concept art and stuff like that, and how you solve them uniquely, maybe you have a great voice with how you do that, that is super helpful.
Yeah.
So it's, it's one part, like, make sure the work is relevant, but definitely the other part is just making sure it's specific to you, it's what you like to do, and it shows that you enjoy doing what you're doing.
Yeah, you can be prisoner also during the stuff that you want, that you like, or you will just kill your energy if you just put yourself into the direction you don't really feel, or you don't really look at the right for you and for your artistic soul, I guess.
Yeah. So just do what you like, do what you enjoy, make sure it could fit potentially in with the company. But yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is just making sure it's showing how you go about doing your work and how you like to do your work. And the other thing, Steve Jung said this, but yeah, drawings showing that you can draw in your portfolio is huge, especially for concept art.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you very much for this reply. I have another question, which is quite specific because I don't really remember that we ever asked this kind of question. It's from Jeremy Kurt, and he is asking, how can you explain to a non-artist on why we draw nude figures or just naked figures? I think it's kind of natural why we are doing it, but yeah, just go ahead, Alex. It's your voice.
I think it's that's a big question with a big answer.
We have time.
I think in one part, it has, there are artists. The human form is a beautiful thing. If painted in the correct way, it's an amazingly beautiful subject matter. For people like us, it's definitely more about mechanics. We need to understand things. We need to be able to paint everything in all positions, preferably with confidence and with ease. So it's, studying and painting and drawing naked things removes all of the distractions, and it shows you the mechanics of what we need to do. So it's, studying naked people and naked things is like, It's just showing you the roadmaps for everything you're going to put on top of that. So it's, it's like a two-parter. If you're doing fine art and you're painting naked people, it's because you think naked people are beautiful, and that's special to you, and that's what your work's about. If we're just, it's more about just studying naked people and why we study naked people. We need to learn how to draw people, and that's kind of the biggest part for what we're doing.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's something like I will compare it to your process, because you start with sketch line, with line work that is quite accurate to the idea you will stick to during the whole process, right? If you start out with some line work and you have the whole shapes and you have everything set, you can just purely fill the shapes with colors, the lighting, and everything. It's the same with drawing the anatomy or mechanical part that doesn't have like any armor or something. You show the stuff that is working actually on top, that will be painted on top of it, right? So basically, if you paint like some figure, and it will be anatomically correct. If you put the armor on it, you can just play around with different variations, and you have some restrictions, but still you have the confidence that the anatomy behind the armor or below the armor is good. So this is how we actually should do it, to actually understand what's beneath and show it in believable way, I guess. So.
Yep.
All right. There's some question that is repeated a couple of times already, I guess. Because some of the people were asking you before about the shapes and the forms, and now is the question about what would you say is the best practice for someone who wants to nail down volume and shading?
Doing, I found two things that help really well. One, rendering like lumps of clay from imagination, where you make a little blobby shape, and then like you would render a sphere, you find out all of the volumes of that shape of clay. Mm-hmm. So you can you don't have to really think about anything other than the blobbiness of it, and you can figure out that, well, there's a lump there and there's a hard edge here, but then it's a soft form roll there. You can really start to get involved with your form rendering without having to think about complex forms. I think that's very helpful. But then also just drawing from life is very, very valuable. You practicing draw through, where you don't just, you're drawing through the object and you're thinking of it in a voluminous matter rather than just drawing it flatly, line by line. That stuff helps immensely.
Cool.
And then painting a lot, photo studies, life studies, all of that stuff is great.
Yeah, I think the most important is to have the balance, because as you said, like some of the people, if they paint only from photos, it can be flat. They just can lose the feeling of the form, right? But if you do both of the stuff, like live drawing and painting from reference, because you can't really see all of the conditions, maybe weather conditions in real life, in exact time that you want to paint something like sunset, and I'm already at night or I'm in the morning, so you can reference it from the photo. But if you do the studies from photos and live studies, you can just actually merge the stuff that you learn, and you don't really see the difference after a while.
Yeah. That was like going back to, if you have a ball, it's like this turret's a ball of clay. If you could hold that ball of clay in your hand, it's like you could start to paint it and you could see that the form is moving, it's tiled, it's changing direction. And then the more you start to paint all of your form with directional brushstrokes that follow kind of, I guess there's like a 3D, like a planar 3D model. You can tile your strokes like those planes going around the 3D model. That's where everything starts to get very voluminous and formy.
Yeah.
That was one. That's a big thing too. I found is I always try to. I'm not a terribly big fan of just like scrubbing in brushstrokes. If I'm aware of the form and where things are going on the form, I always try and layer my brush strokes and tile my brush strokes so they're moving in those directions.
Mm-hmm.
Because then even if you leave a brush stroke and it's going this way on the side of a tank, it's still informing the viewer as like, oh, it's sitting in space that way.
Yeah, and I see that you are using only just standard brushes, so you are also another person that shows that it's no brush matters, right? Or no, it doesn't really matter what brush you use. So.
I just found I've got all these brushes I never use, but it's like I just found this one that makes a cool pattern, like steel, like a brushed aluminum. But that's like I just now found out about that brush, so I've had it for 1.5 years, 2 years. It's like, I'm a big fan of it's, as long as you're aware of what edges you need to paint and what values you need to paint, you can use any brush.
Yeah.
Some brushes may take longer to get the desired effect, but you can use any brush.
Yeah, that's the matter of thing. If you understand actually what's the form or what's the result you want to achieve, it's really there are some, of course, Photoshop brushes that helps you or either create faster effects or will slow you down at some point. But if you use like a roundy or squares, you can do everything basically. So.
Yeah, it's like I think like you said, the only time I really start to use a lot of different brushes is if it's like, okay, I need to do some embers or some fire or like a metal streak, and then I'll use it's like I found different textured brushes for different things that I need to paint, and that's when I'll start to get into using a lot of different brushes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
pretty natural, I guess, because so the people will still be thinking that using like texture brushes or the brushes that are from the famous artist sets are the main stuff, but you can just do everything as we can see right now with your round brushes, which is awesome. So you don't really need this. So
I think Knox was one of the first ones. I watched him paint, and it was like, oh shit, I can just do everything with the hard round. And I was like, I need to learn how to do that. So it's kind of that's been my attack.
Some of the people are chatting about getting a job via some portfolios websites. Maybe not portfolios, maybe more like art websites, like DeviantArt, ArtStation, or whatever. What's your point on it? And if it's like any place that you can recommend to people, we don't want to do like any advert for any of them, but what would help them maybe, because
ArtStation's huge. They've got a lot of traffic.
Of course, yeah.
But all of any website you think that gets people and that has a crowd of people, I've always endorsed posting on those websites because it's I post mainly on Instagram and Facebook, but then I'll put up stuff on a lot of other websites because those aren't crowds I interact with or people I interact with, but they may find my work through that website. Mm-hmm. So that's ArtStation. I've gotten 2 or 3 really cool jobs through ArtStation or job offers through ArtStation because there's just a lot of people going through looking at that website a lot.
Yeah, the sites like ArtStation that are quite new on the market just went really big, and they are doing amazing job basically to get better, and we can actually quietly admire it. And just what we really tell to the people, just use any websites to actually show yourself, because if you don't show yourself anywhere, no one will actually see you. So that's the main point. You have to just get out of your shy way, I guess, because maybe some of the people are shy about their stuff, and they shouldn't, because there's like a lot of places that they can get help. For instance, like Facebook groups, or just send out some stuff to some of the guys that do like mentorships or whatever. But basically, just show the stuff everywhere around, and you will get noticed. That's the natural way of working. So.
Yeah, even if you don't think you want to get work right now, putting your stuff out there, you'll find yourself in a peer group. You'll build new art friends, people you maybe didn't talk to before you put all your work out there. Mm-hmm. And then over time, those friendships will be some of the most beneficial things you will come to, I guess, hold dear to yourself as you come up in the industry. Because I'd say 50 to 60% of the jobs I get now, I get through friends, you know, and friends that I've known and friends that recommend you, or it's like, I can't do this, I'm too busy, but this guy's great, he'll help you. And it's like, all of those people will become your peers, like they're peers now, they'll be your professional peers later as you all come up together, and it's just like that, the networking and just everything you can get online is so beneficial, and it's so hands-on now.
Yeah, there's like a lot of the places that you can just build your portfolio in the art websites generation engines. Like you can have like a portfolio on ArtStation doing the like personal website via it. But we always like say that show your stuff everywhere, and which is really good. Build your own corner, like build your own like a independent website for you only, that you can have all the information about you. Maybe you can share some stuff, or maybe some blog or whatever, and this would work because you actually show your stuff on the art medias, and having your own corner, which is always looking very pro. So
yeah, I'm working on that right now, doing a Squarespace website, because it's having like a legitimate, this is my website. It says so much about you and who you are as a professional when it looks really nice.
Exactly.
I can't. I've neglected it for too long, but I can't recommend. I'm now doing it because I can't recommend it enough. Having like this is me, this is who I am. Like if people want to hire you, this is what you do. You know.
Yeah, it's like the stuff that you actually don't maybe have a chance to actually show or share on the art websites, because there is like no even option for it, and you can just put everything in it on your own website that the client will just scroll through and just get the idea about you, what you're doing, who you are, and just all about you. So whatever you wanted to share with them, maybe not too much, of course, but some of the stuff that is like quite indispensable for client to get you on board. So.
Yeah, and then the thing I'm finding attractive of having a website like that is you can start to split it. On ArtStation, it's all right there tiled. It's all. It can be overwhelming if it's just a bunch of awesome shit just all there. But having a website, it can be illustrations, concept, like fantasy illustrations, sci-fi illustration, sketchbook drawings, tradition. And it's like, so you can start to break everything down in a wider variety of subject matter.
Yeah, exactly. And just you will just also have more opportunity to be reviewed by art directors, because they don't usually have time to scroll through the whole website of unorganized pictures, or if they are not really certain if they are yours pictures, or if they are pictures that you have in your favorites or whatever, right?
Yeah. Or even it's like you want to show the art director 4 images, but the 4 images that you want to show them are hidden throughout the entire tiled website. Where it's like, you only want to show them the fantasy stuff, but your ArtStation is fantasy, sci-fi, painting from light, it's everything. Then it's easy to just be like, okay, here's exactly what's applicable to you. Could you please look at it,
Yeah, so basically we just recommend to use everything and do it all, and just build your own corner as well to have like a nice and clean presentation online, which is quite important. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that from putting my own and reading into it, Squarespace is super nice for, the free version's nice, but then you can pay like $10 or $20 a month, and they'll give you like web hosting and everything and make it look really pro.
Yeah, that's the website basically what we built on our Level Up website, which is quite nice and easy way to actually.
Yeah, just like right out of the box, they look really nice.
Yeah. Right. We have 20 minutes left. We will, of course, going through the demo still. I'm just going to announce the people that are watching us right now. If you have any more questions to Alex, just don't hesitate to pose them. We can have a conversation about the stuff that you take up. So, yeah, it's your time, guys. So maybe you can just tell us a little bit about the stuff that you are doing right now, Alex. You pushed quite hard the parts of the bottom of the tank, just right right now, just rendering other like center part of the tank and just filter and clean up the shadows. As far as I see.
Yeah. Now it's getting to the point where it's like I feel like all of the shapes are, they're feeling good and how I'd like them to. So now it's like a lot of cleanup. Like the darks are really dark, so I'm trying to get rid of all of the super blacks.
Mm-hmm.
And really just like, it's the big shapes were there, but now this is where I'll take the time to start to push all of the smaller, like the last 15% of the design.
Mm-hmm.
All the really fun details that add that extra visual texture. I try and save all of that stuff until the very end so I don't get too carried away. It's like I've zoomed way in and I'm just painting this tiny little area, and then I zoom out and there's nothing to do. So, oh man, this picture's tiny.
Yeah, what are the dimensions that you are usually working on?
I usually paint between like 2,000 and 5,000 pixels across.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a really, like some of the stuff for Games Workshop I'm doing now is like really, really big. But I try and keep it small and manageable. The moment my files get too big, I start zooming in a lot. And it's like most of the stuff I paint isn't going to be printed at that size anyways, so it's just like additional work that's giving me a headache.
Mm-hmm.
So it's... Yeah.
There is some specific question that I would usually just omit or avoid to asking you. So maybe we can just go around it. As a freelance, how do you decide how much the client has to pay? You don't, of course, you just don't give like the exact rates, but how do you handle? Do you have like your own set of rates, or maybe just give the rough idea for people that are starting out, probably concept art?
So it's it's like half the most of the jobs I do, the rate's already been decided, and they're they say we can pay you X amount of money. Does this work for you? Are you happy with this? And it's like if I feel like I'm not happy with it, maybe sometimes I'll negotiate a little bit and ask for a little more money, or maybe something on the back end if it's a different product. Send me like some free product or something, and you guys have to pay me so much money. But generally, it's I try to establish how much money do I need every month.
Okay.
So it's like between rent, bills, food, groceries, and then I'll try and break down like how much of my time is going to be spent this month on work, and then from there I'll kind of break out either day rates or hourly rates, so I can make sure at the end of the day all of my bills are paid and everybody's happy. So it's like if I'm going to do a day rate or an hourly breakdown, it'll usually come from like what are my bills, what do I need to pay for, and then what, it's like at the end of that, what's an additional chunk on top, or savings or taxes or all of that stuff. I'll add that into, and then find what of those rates that I can give them will work and make everybody happy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect answer, I guess, because I also noticed, because it can be a little bit different in the the stuff that you are doing for some game company, maybe on freelance, and it's mostly concept art that you have to usually give them your own rate, and some other stuff is with illustrations. As I lately noticed. Because I had a chance to do magic card, and it was already set for me. So it's the matter of do you want to do it or not. And the stuff which is illustrated is a little bit. The companies has already like set the rates, and for the games or for the movies, you can come up with your own, and either they just agree or not. So it's all about knowing the industry. You can ask the guys from the industry about it as well. You can have some. I saw some of the articles, or even some posts on Facebook from the guys that posted the initial or approximate stuff for the rate. So it's all in there. So because everyone is decide on their own way. There's like no the same amount of money for everyone. So
And one thing that John Park brought up that is good to remember for like video game companies and big studios like that, you know, it's cheaper for them to give you $10, $20, $30,000 to do a big chunk of work than it is for them to pay an entire department and staff of people $100,
Yes.
$200, $300,000. So
Yes.
also, don't be afraid for those kinds of contracts. There is a lot of money on the table for operating costs. You know, to ask a little more because they're expecting to pay generally a lot of money if they do all
Yeah,
that.
of course. Yeah, they need to be. They are prepared basically. So it's not like they don't have. So you know, just don't be shy, and your
Yeah.
stuff will be paid off. So.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just coming up and starting all this stuff before the internet, like this, there was this super big community online, figuring out rates, and even just like, you know, companies that already had established rates, trying to figure out if that was even a good deal before all this stuff was really available.
Yes.
It was frustrating, man. It's like, am I getting a good deal? Am I getting ripped off?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think it's like any point to actually pause it. Maybe, you know, maybe we just look from different perspective right now, because I was a little bit, when I started out, I was also very naive and stuff, you know, just was scared, oh, maybe I would just ask too much or whatever. But this, like, with time, you can understand this, like, you will never get paid that well that you need to be. So yeah, that's the thing. Look at the, like, you know, different genres of our life, like celebrities or other people that don't really do anything and get paid millions. Where's the fair play in it? There is no fair play. So
Yeah, and that's kind of Mark English, one of my teachers at the art department. He was basically breaking down illustration rates. Everything else in those companies that hire you out for your illustrations, everything within that company has been adjusted for inflation since the 60s, except for the rates that they're paying illustrators.
Yeah.
So it's like everything else has gone up but their art budget. So it's, you know, it's kind of depressing to think that as the times grow and money becomes something completely different than it was in the 60s, your time as an artist is still exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah, the only what really matters is just your own attitude to it, and how much can you actually ask for, how are you able to negotiate, because it's not like if you ask for too much, there's like one important thing. If you ask for too much, and if you like your work, they will negotiate every time. If they don't, if they are like, we don't care, they probably maybe not coming back to you, and you will lose the client. But you know, you have to try at least to actually know it, because some of the people ask. We had some of the sessions that people ask the guys, the guests, or even us, what's the exact rate they should get. It's not like this. It's all about how much you will be able to ask from them, and how much. You know.
Yeah, it's the client negotiations are definitely a bit of push and pull from both parties.
But it's also very exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see for some questions, because people are getting quite busy with questions, because we are going to wrap up in 15 minutes. So okay, this is really cool question. This is one of the best questions, I guess, today. Do you try to not add unnecessary details on your industrial designs, like random circles or random lines? It's really good question, I guess.
Yeah, I try and, you know, if I'm going to put rivets down and things like that, I try and make sure that there's a function for them, or it's like, you know, this thing up here would be like an access panel where they could plug all their shit in, and it wouldn't be like a circle. Yeah, there's a circle there. So it's, you know, and from building all the models and everything, if I'm going to put little tiny circles, you know, let's make sure they're on the edges of armor plates where they'd be holding things down. I don't know if it's like exactly accurate, but yeah, I try and keep most of the stuff that I will add on. Make sure it's at least has some kind of function in my designs.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised because if I look at your designs and your Mac, they are usually, for me, what I see as a spectator or as a viewer of your pictures is always like makes sense. I see some of the like a kid bashed Macs online or some other Macs that are maybe even too similar to each other. I'm not talking, of course, about you right now, but some of them they have like add-ons and details that don't really tell me anything what's going on this or what really it is. It's like more like a like feeling for or like a decoration, right? It's more like but it's also good, of course, because it needs to look good as well as have some function. But yeah, I think that the guy that took up this question is really good point, I guess, because yeah, there are a lot of designs are just I don't know if they are thought through or not, because it's kind of hard sometimes to judge. And even if they're looking amazing, they are not. Sometimes maybe just makes sense. So.
Yeah, that's why I found like building. I'll go back to building models is even if you're not going to paint them, but well, like the dragon and Tamiya models are in Japanese, and it's kind of hard to read all the instruction booklets. But you can figure out like all these little pieces you're putting together. It's like, oh, that's a flashette discharger, or oh, that's an exhaust manifold, or oh, these are the drivetrain wheels, and you can start to pick out all of these unique little pieces. And even if you just kind of know what the function is in real life, if you think that that might work on like the knee joint or the butt or whatever it is that's going to be moving, like I try to plug that stuff in because it's like, well, it's kind of like that in real life. If anybody sees that in real life and they see that on the knee, they're both moving joints, then there's a little bit of believability already in the viewer established immediately, and that helps a lot.
Yeah, and even if you're putting like some decorations, it's not bad if the whole structure, if the whole mech or any mechanism is just working fine and understandable. No one really should care if there's like too much like lines or circles, to be honest. So
yeah, and like in the end, it all comes down to even if you put a bunch of shit on it, it's just more of a did you put them on in an appealing way? It's like I think most of the times if there is a bunch of superfluous things put on, but they're put on in a very appealing way, nobody really cares because it still looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's true, of course.
No,
it's only art. It's not like a changing world.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like everything we do, it's the ultimate end goal is does it look fucking awesome? And if it looks fucking awesome, mission accomplished.
Exactly. Okay, there is some question about the colors. You partly covered some of them, but people just try to get a little bit more deeper questions maybe. So let me ask this one. What's the most effective method in your opinion to get better at everything to do with color?
Honestly, the one thing I would say that has helped me the most is mixing traditional paints. So you only have 8 paints, but you have to mix 15 different colors. So you start to figure out what colors compose, I guess, what shades and what hues. So you could then, when you're painting digitally, you're constantly going for the exact color you want, and you're not fumbling around in your canvas. Mm-hmm. That stuff helps a lot. But then also color mixing and color matching to stuff from life is probably the most helpful. You'll figure out, when you need to mix your neutrals, when you need high chroma, when you need a lot of color, when, what light, what value, and what goes into making that color, that value, that hue. And then when you start doing that traditionally, everything clicks a little bit. And then when you're in digital, you don't have to mix the color, but you know the color you want, and you just go get the color.
Yeah, and the thing is that sometimes what I also notice if you're doing like digital, it's mostly, as you said, you have to pick up the colors deliberately. It's there are some options with layers and stuff that you can blend them and mix them in with different variations, but I think that the degree of randomness is much less than in like for instance like oil paints, and you have like some of the nice colors that are hidden between 2 or 3 hues, and if you are doing something in Photoshop on the normal layers, you have to pick up the right color to actually do some variation, which is really insane because it requires some of the additional knowledge of being aware of what colors do I need to use, right? What colors do should I use actually to make something happen, right?
Yeah. And so that's like once you start doing all that traditionally, it activates your color sense a little bit more, where it's a more of an interactive color experience where it's like you actively start to know what you need to do or what you want rather than just mixing colors around on your canvas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you are becoming more aware of this kind of stuff, which is quite essential to create like a nice color mixing and nice color blends, and they are not very like striking in terms of like, oh, they are not fitting together well, right?
Yeah. And then the other thing is I always try and, before I set out to paint, I always try and keep at least like a 2 or 3 color palette in my head. So it's like when I started this one, I knew it was going to be this sky blue, this like creamy off-white, and then the oranges that would be on like the rusty parts. So it was just having a little bit of, and then, it's like I think a lime green would look cool as an accent color, or like you could start to pick out additional colors while you're painting. But I always find having at least a rough guideline for where you want to go with your colors before you start painting to be really helpful.
Yeah, having like something in your mind, like I recommend to use screen caps for color information, like stills from movies. That's what I want to say. That Carla, our last guest, also recommended, because it has a lot of nice color information, and like from the movies you can have a lot of nice mood, and what really help you to build like the good palette for your paintings. And there are a lot of subdue hues that you can use actually on the paintings. So it's really nice to create like a document with some of the color scraps or some of the movie stills that really suits to the idea you have in your mind, and then support your picture with those colors and create like something unique, which is really important, I guess. So that's what you said, like having some of the colors already in your mind, and then maybe support it with some movie stills or with some photo reference or whatever. It's really cool to build like some unique picture with some nice colors, I guess.
And the movie stills especially, I know I can't think of it off the top of my head, but there's a Tumblr that like takes the movie still and then it distills all of the color swatches out, so you could see like, I guess, the basic idea of what the colors that compose this image are. Mm-hmm. And you see the movie still and you think there's a million different colors, but then you see those swatches and it makes you realize how close together a lot of the colors are, or even how muted they are, but they're all, you put a warm desaturated color next to a cool desaturated color and they both look really vibrant, but they're, it's just that color relationship as they interact next to each other.
Exactly. Yeah, and this is like you have like the knowledge which you just took up is like a knowledge that you have from some books, like from James Garney, Color Practical Color and Light, and then you can actually notice that the whole knowledge in some movie stills that you want to use to create the mood on your paintings. It's just like there's a lot of ways to actually come up with some nice colors, I think.
Yeah.
So basically, we recommend to watch and get movie stills. So maybe later after the session, if you have some time, you can just drop me the link to this Tumblr, and I will post it on Level Up event page.
I can put together a list of all the things I had mentioned.
Awesome. Would be awesome. Really.
And then also, I know we didn't go over, I can put my email in there too, but I always like if people want feedback or stuff on just like through email, I try and be pretty good about getting back to people that way too.
Yeah, you are just a big-hearted man.
I try to be when I can. I don't know. I wish I had resources of people to give back when I was coming up. So it's like I like to do that as much as possible when I can.
Awesome. They will definitely appreciate. And I think there's time to ask our level up spirit question that we ask to every of our guests. So let's be prepared. If you had to choose, would you rather be Godzilla or a billionaire, and why?
Oh man. I think I'd be Godzilla.
Why?
Why not? Godzilla. Just being able to stomp around, swim around the earth, like you could help people, you could kill people, you could do whatever you want.
You could help people, you could kill people. Nice.
You could fight for the earth, you could fight monsters, you could fight robots, you could breathe fire out of your mouth. That's pretty cool.
All right. So basically doing everything with a lot of epicness in the background.
Yeah, and then you're a monster. I guess some people probably don't want to be a monster, but I don't know. Being Godzilla would be pretty tight.
Yeah, perfect response. Perfect response. All right. I think we can wrap up right now. It was really awesome to have you, Alex.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for amazing demo, for amazing knowledge that you shared with people today. And please don't forget to save this file. Or
I didn't save once the whole time.
Yeah.
That could have been bad.
Okay, so maybe you can just post it later on the Level Up event page on Facebook.
Yeah, and let me
awesome. So yeah, I will definitely just send you all the stuff, so we can just share the links. So once again, thank you very much for everyone who joined us today. Let's say thank you very much to Alex. If you like this session, please follow Alex Works on his Tumblr, on Facebook as well. Subscribe to Level Up channel, and yeah, please await to next week's session. So once again, thank you very much, man.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for all the good questions. I hope I didn't ramble too much.
It was amazing, man. Really cool. So see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Excellent. Later, guys.